real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Nothing like a midweek game to get the energy going again.
Woo!
Toronto Maple Leafs, Colorado Avalanche, Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Derek Brandeo, David Sisbuba. And the star of Leaf Nation, Sammy McKee.
And a
All right,
good
it's
night's
Wednesday.
and a good night's sleep will get the energy going again too, eh, Kipper?
What was that?
You're good.
A good night's sleep last night. You got a little more energy
Oh,
today.
yeah. Yeah, you know why? The tequila wore off from Monday.
Dry it out.
I am dry.
And ready to go.
And I'm staying that way for the next little while.
That's what we like to hear.
Love it.
At least for 2 hours, for sure.
That's all we
Wow.
ask.
Unless you guys
I'm
drive
going to
me
Arizona
drink.
next. I'm going to Arizona next week. I'll probably be won't be as dry. The weather will be dry, not me.
There you go.
So we're glad everyone's with us for the next 2 hours, live on Sportsnet 590 The Fan, our YouTube channel, Sportsnet Now, iTunes, Spotify. Let's get her going. Leafs on the ice this morning ahead of their matchup with Colorado. Why did you feel the need to print that? Aren't they usually on the ice? Or
Wow, I was just setting the scene. It's a scene setter.
What? That's a hell of a scene setter.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I
Luke Schenn was out there, I think.
I cut my chops at 680 News, or City News 680 as it's called now, where I was writing a lot of script for news, and got to set the scene.
No, it's a good scene.
Thank you. I said it. The
Now-
scene has been set.
Was everybody on the ice? Or was it an optional?
Everyone was on the ice. They had lines. They had practice lines. They had everything going this morning. I even put those in the lineup for you. Another scene setter.
That means they mean business tonight.
Yeah, I would agree.
So Kyle has spoken of this. Nothing really seems to fester too long for this hockey club. So we expect a good game tonight.
Yeah, and again, they tend to play well when they are incentivized to play good teams. So Colorado has certainly been that of late. They hung 8 on Montreal on Monday night. Not too shabby. You know, they're won 8 of their last 11. They're humming a little bit here. They're finding it.
In the next hour, we're going to welcome in Arif Dean, who covers the Avalanche for Mile High Sports. He's the host of Hockey Mountain High. So we'll
Excellent podcast name.
Yeah.
Hockey Mountain High. That's
Yeah.
really good.
So we're excited to get more into detail on Colorado and their chances of defending their Stanley Cup. In the meantime, as we focus on the Toronto Maple Leafs, where do we start? On maybe Austin Matthews and how good he's looked lately, and now things get serious for him and the team, and be the player that we saw last year.
God, that would be nice. But, you know, we have seen a few flashes of that lately. Last 3 games, he's scored in each one. He's had 3 assists along the way. So, you know, that's encouraging. And today there was an article out, Jonas Siegel, that he had been playing with a hurt hand, which people had speculated on. I'm not fully saying giving Matthews the pass, because to me it's the skating that's been an issue.
Yeah. Energy sometimes has not been there,
Right.
and that shouldn't have anything to do with your hand.
Agreed. I agree it's an energy thing.
But we have seen over the course of the year where a puck could just explode off his stick and jump over a blue line and lose the zone, and just stuff like that maybe kind of connects the dots a little bit with his hand.
Yeah.
You think?
Well, yeah, and we had talked for years about how the puck was like a magnet on his blade, like talk about on a string. Everything they got, you can't give him a bad pass, and it hasn't felt as magnetic at times this year. So, yeah, it would be great if his hand was hurt all year, and all of a sudden he was like, I'm back. I'm that guy again.
Okay, let's go to Sheldon Keefe on Matthews and his star player.
The goals to me are secondary, but I think he's been really skating well and on the puck, jumping into holes. I think in terms of how he's moving on the ice, I think that's more of what we're used to seeing. And the goals, I mean, the other night, he's falls up the play and gets a tap in at the crease. So I don't know if that's much of a rhythm thing as it is just that you're moving well and you're confident and you're getting to spaces. And that's more of what we like to see from him in terms of just getting around the ice and being, looks like he's light and free and all of that. So that's that's been really nice. It's been a few games now. He's been really skating well.
See, that's exactly what you just talked on.
Light and free. He has looked heavy and tethered at times this year. You know, like the light and free thing's great because that's what I see too. It's about his movement and it's about his, ability to look fast because he's a big dude and he hasn't. When you're not fast, you tend to look slow and behind. He's looked really good lately. So
I wonder if conditioning has anything to do with that.
I think it's fair to ask when you have a 2-hour radio show.
I think it's fair to say that, if you want to throw in light and free, it does make you think.
Yeah. There's been stretches of play this year where it's not like he's been bad, but it does look like he's playing off a steak dinner. Like it's just looked a little not as light and free. And so that's good. That the coach is acknowledging it is one thing. That Matthews had some quotes about it too, about how he just hasn't felt quite right is another. So, but I mean, he's so sick of the line, but your best players got to be your best players. He hasn't been at times this year. So this is a great step for the Leafs heading towards playoffs.
Sammy, where's Austin Matthews on your list of things to keep an eye on here for the rest of the regular season?
I don't know when I said it, but I felt like I said it within the last couple of weeks that there is a possibility that he just turns this baby on, right? Like we talked about how this is a thing that we've brought up all throughout the year, though, that there's not the 60-goal chase. There's not the chase of who you're going to be playing in the first round. There's kind of, to be honest, a lot of just another game here, right? And now that they're starting to get bigger, there's less games left in the regular season. You got to solidify home ice advantage. He knows how good he's going to have to be in the postseason for the Leafs to win. There is part of me that thinks it's just kind of ramping up here, and that it's just he knows how much more important the games are about to get, and he's ramping it up. And that, I'm not suggesting that he wasn't trying before. I guess maybe by saying that in a backhanded way, I am. But I just really do feel like he's turned it on, and he's looked a lot more like himself within the past week or so.
Just towards the tail end.
He scored in 3 straight games. Like it's following him around
he had
again.
50 and 50 in the back end of the season last year. I don't know if that's related.
To get to 60.
Yeah.
I do think there's a world in which he's just kind of turned it on in the last couple of weeks.
Just on a quick note here, in about 15 minutes, we're going to get in Eddie Olczyk.
Ooh.
Man, this is a broadcaster show today. Because we go Eddie O and Ray Ferraro in about 40 minutes. Like, it doesn't get any better than that, Sammy.
Yeah, good booking by you, Kyper.
Really good booking by
producer Kippy was on fire today.
Good work, fella.
We heard from Adam Oates, who, by the way, guys, like maybe one of, and if you didn't listen to yesterday's show or download it, please do it and listen to Adam Oates, Hall of Famer, discuss Trevor Zegras, who's a face and a young star, one of those guys that has already, made an impression for probably Instagram goals.
Yeah.
Which was the hot topic of conversation with Adam Oates yesterday. And I just loved his candid view of where that line is for him. But, just to switch gears again on Adam Oates, he talked about the need to have Mitch Marner with Austin.
Mm-hmm.
And how important is that to him that he stays with Marner from here on in? And is it the biggest reason, maybe outside of a legit situation with his hand, that you go from 60 to 40, 45 goals because of Mitch Marner?
It's just tough to say when they started the season. What did they play together to start the year? Like 10 games? Matthews had like 2 or 3 goals or something, and like they just didn't seem to have that same thing. And again, that just felt like Matthews not having the same. I
think a lot of it, listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that him scoring 60 goals last year wasn't, a lot of it had to do with Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner put a lot of them on a platter for him. Don't get me wrong. But I do think a lot of this is on Matthews, just in terms of the way his games looked. Like I think if he had played with Marner all the year, maybe he'd have 2 or 3 more, 3 or 4 more. But I don't think he'd be like close to 60 again.
Yeah,
he was dominant.
I do think it's integral now, though, that those guys, now that you got Ryan O'Reilly and another guy for good players to play with, I think you leave those two together and try to get the most out of them.
All right, you said you gave me the lines?
Yeah, they're in
red.
They're right in red there, right in front of you.
We got Yarn Croc with Matthews and Marner.
Nice.
So if we just talked Matthews and Marner, we got Sammy is happy because Kerfoot's gone, and Cale Yarn Croc, recent goal scorer,
and
left wing.
I think he's a guy that can jump up in short stints, but you know how I feel about Yarn Croc being in a top 6 mid.
What a drop! The timing. He's mid.
He's mid. He's mid.
Yeah, that's fair. But
Okay.
I mean, they got a bunch of mid left wingers, so.
But Sheldon Keefe's going to tell me otherwise on this clip.
Oh, I haven't. Yeah, let's find out how he thinks of Cale. Let's do it.
It's just something that we haven't really looked at much, but obviously
Just
with
stop
11,
it right there. Can we get that opening again? Because I
it's
think
just,
he's on board with me. Listen.
It's just something that we haven't really looked at much.
No,
but
one more start.
It's just something that we haven't really looked at much. But
Listen, though. Listen, we got to listen to the rest of the clip, though, because he says hilarious stuff.
No,
Please.
I only like, yeah.
Please, let's just listen to the rest
Okay, all right.
It's just something that we haven't really looked at much, but obviously with 11 and 7, things are pretty fluid there for us. I wanted to get Kerfoot paired with Lafferty a little bit more. Just similar type of skill sets in terms of how they skate and move with and without the puck. So I suspect things will move around a fair bit, but if I'm going to use Yarn Croc from time to time in that spot, I just wanted to give them a little bit more familiarity, starting with today's morning skate. But I think you'll see things move around there as they have been.
So he's like, but Kerfoot, he's still going to be around.
You can't take away my blankie.
So it's just Kerfoot and Lafferty.
Yeah, I don't even get a guy.
They
We're just
don't
gonna
even
play.
get
You know,
away-
they're
they
both
don't-
great killers. They figure we're just gonna kill.
That's a lot of speed, though.
Oh man, they could fly. Look at them get up the rink.
And they'll just beat the puck to a square together.
No, but like you got to look at every guy in that Matthews and Marner spot. I think Yarn Croc's on a rush with Matthews the other day, makes the right play and not forcing a pass through him and shoots the puck, scores a goal. I mean, the guy's one goal off a career high now in goals. He's got 15 on the season.
It's just something that we haven't really looked at much.
Ah,
You gotta do it.
But listen,
I
not.
wish.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just wish Yarncroc could score like that when it's not beside Matthews or Marner all the time.
That would be
Or
amazing.
Nylander.
Yeah.
Like, go back and look at his goals.
Yeah,
It's
has it
still-
mostly been with the good
It's
guys?
still, yeah.
Yeah.
It's mostly with the good guys. It's in that position.
Yeah.
A lot
But-
of tap-ins.
Can he?
I like his
Is
shot.
it a fixture here? Can you go against Tampa Bay against their top 6
Yeah.
with Yarncroc?
I think Matthews and Marner are so good that Yarn Croc is a pretty reliable guy. Like he's at least, I don't think he hurts them. Maybe he doesn't add anything extra to that line the way when you get like the perfection line, all three guys bring their own flavor to it. But I don't think they have a lot of options for guys who add spice.
And the difference between him and Kerfoot, you're talking about, a guy that can score with good players.
And a guy who can score with anyone.
You can just stop the sentence that he can score.
Yeah.
He's
can
got
shoot
finish.
You can shoot the puck in
Yeah.
the net. He's got 15 goals this year.
Yeah. Kerfoot is not showing.
Kerfoot's got one since the ball dropped on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Okay, yesterday we were
It's March,
going-
by the way.
Sorry?
It's March, by the way.
March, by the way. Yeah. It wasn't recent ball drop.
Flex Seal.
Oh, there's going to be some plug-in tonight.
That'd go, Derek.
Yesterday, we talked about the rotation that we could possibly see the rest of the week. Samsonov's in. No real surprise here, right?
No. Well,
I don't think
no,
so.
No.
I mean, this is the way it's going to go here. They'll both get their looks. Listen, the defending Stanley Cup champions, the guy who you think is going to start game 1 of the playoffs. The pressure's on Samsonov. Murray's back in the net and available. I got a close eye on old Sammy tonight. It's a big game for him. Murray's starting to gain some he's starting to gain some momentum with the coach.
All right, let's listen to Keefe on Sammy. There's Sammy.
Samsonov good to go tonight?
Yeah, and he's fine. I mean, he's just like I said the other day, he's a little bit less than 100%, and all of that. And we wanted to make sure he had a little more time to be certain that he was 100%. And he hasn't missed any time in practices or anything, but he's had a little bit of discomfort in the last couple of weeks that we wanted to make sure settled properly.
That's a hell of a recovery.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah.
It's only like 97% before, but now he's 100.
Yeah, he's ready to go. Yeah.
What a miracle. He recovered.
So he's not. So if you've had the flu or a little bit of a bug, you're not in discomfort. You're just miserable.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah.
So what do you think he's masking? A groin? A knee?
I don't know.
What do you think?
I don't know. I mean,
I hope none of the above.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything going on really aside from just wanted to get Murray another start, and Sammy's tired and whatever. You know how it is at this point of the season.
Feels
Kyper,
like-
something bugs you.
It feels like it's been a while since he played, right? Was his last game? They played in Edmonton? His last game would have been Calgary?
That seems like too long ago.
No, my bad. Not Calgary. New Jersey.
He hasn't.
Been over a week.
Yeah, he hasn't been very busy.
Been over a week since he's played.
I wonder if a little rustiness, a little
Rest versus rust, baby.
would he? I could see him being a little anxious tonight.
Yeah, but if I'm not mistaken, they have both played at their best when they've both been available. Like when there's been a little bit of a push, right? Like Murray's played well and Samsonov has kind of raised his game a little bit. This might be the best case scenario to get the most out of him. These are big starts for claiming the crease in playoffs and for him earning his next contract and what the value of that will be.
Okay, let's go to Sheldon Keefe on playing the Stanley Cup champions.
Well, we've had no shortage of difficult matchups and difficult games here recently, and today is another one, and there's more coming here for us. So there's that stretch of the schedule where we've you've got to be real good. I mean, Colorado's definitely playing more like you'd had expected them to get to in terms of their quality of play and level of play. They're a much different spot than when we saw them around New Year's there. So, yeah, to that degree, I mean, they have injuries and such, but the way that they play as a group and certainly with their best people on forward and defense, they keep you very honest.
Yeah.
Winners 8 out of their last 11 on the road. And McKinnon scored 5 straight games and has 15 goals in his last 15 games. That's not bad.
He's the only guy who can look like Connor McDavid to me through the neutral zone with the puck barreling through the D. He's the only guy you're like, oh, that's different.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a fascinating different. The way it looks much more like a labor when he's skating. Like, not like it's hard for him, but the way he chugs and the way
Oh, it's much more forceful.
It's like a train where it's like you don't want to stand in front of it, whereas McDavid's going to break your ankles by changing directions.
He's like, McDavid's going how fast? And he barely took a stride?
Yeah.
Like, it's a very different style.
He's light and effervescent, while McKinnon is.
You know who the second hottest scorer is on the Avs, don't you?
Yeah, it's Dennis Malgin.
Sorry?
Dennis Malgin?
Yes.
Yeah, I brought that up the other day, and you made
Speaking
fun
of
of
trains,
me.
I didn't think you were serious.
Yeah, he's hot. Guy's hot.
he's on the second line with Val Nichushkin and JT Comfort
A
tonight.
top 6 forward
How
on the
could the
Stanley
Leafs
Cup
trade a
championship
top
team.
6 forward?
Yeah. They could have Malgin, Barabanov, and Patan as a line, and they let them all go.
I think I'm going to do a parlay tonight because Galchenyuk's getting into the lineup tonight for them, too. A Galchenyuk-Malgin goal parlay,
Pays plus $6 billion.
and it's a lock.
Yeah. It's
Like-
a virtual lock.
If I would, Malgin is scoring tonight. That is an absolute promise to both of you.
I know, it's so
I've
true.
never been more sure of anything.
He predict Buffalo was going to beat the Leafs on Monday.
I know.
I got to go with him.
I hope there's a camera on Dubas when Malgin hangs 2 on him tonight, and he
Oh
just
my
looks over at like Shanny or someone and goes,
Who'd they trade him for?
Hunt.
They
Oh,
are,
yeah,
though.
Dryden Hunt. Yeah.
They have
Who they traded again?
They have been bitten hard, though. Every time it's like 1 step forward, 2 back. Lehkonen out of the lineup 4 to 6 weeks. They miss Josh Manson.
Yeah. Yeah, he's had some rough injury luck, hasn't he? Obviously an exceptional player, but they're still without Landeskog. They're hanging in there, but I mean, they're still, they're on the cusp of the top of the division again. Just pull out my fancy color sheet here.
And Nate's already playing the underdog card.
Yeah, well, yeah, if we're in a wild card spot, we'll be tough.
I think he's doing the opposite of the underdog card.
You saying we're better than that?
Yeah, no, he said, like, no one wants to face us if we're in under the wild card spot.
All right, I'll take that. I prefer that.
Yeah.
Be who you
I'm gonna
think you
call Eddie.
are. 3 games at hand of the Dallas Stars and 7 points back. 4 points behind the Minnesota Wild right now, this Colorado team. So they got some work to do to catch up.
All right.
We got one last one here for you, pal.
You got one more clip?
Yep. It's discussing the idea of Luke Schenn. Or do you want to go to Edzo first, or should we fit this clip in here? Let's do it. Let's play the clip on Keefe on Luke Schenn status.
For lots of reasons, but the biggest one that today's morning skate, you're not getting much out of that. He's traveled, and it's two days in a row he didn't skate leading up to today, and he'll get a chance to get a full practice tomorrow with players on the ice and competing and all of those kind of things. So we'll start to get him. Today's a good step to get him ramped up, and then make some decisions from there for the weekend.
I'm going to put you in with Kyper and Bourne, okay?
There you go. We got
it's
a little too quick to just insert him.
It is, but depending on where you have him slotted and how is he got a chance to be an everyday player for you in the first round? If so, you got to get him in the lineup. All right, let's welcome in Edzo, Eddie Olczyk, former NHL player, color analyst with Seattle, Kraken, and TNT. Are we good? Why are you guys looking at me like I got 3 heads? All right.
Did you make up that introduction on your own, or were you reading that, Kyper?
Listen, I can't do anything without Sammy.
Listen, it's just awesome. Justin, how are you, buddy?
Oh, great to hear you, Edzo.
Yeah, it's on a giant cue card. I won't lie.
Keep up the great work. Yeah.
How are you? You okay? You're not running out of gas this year, are you?
No. We're good. We're on the right side of the grass, and it is an interesting time of year because everywhere we go now, especially with the NHL and TNT, and as you mentioned, we're in town here, Kyper and Justin, for the Avs and Leafs tonight. But it's what have teams done, how have they handled the trade deadline, and then it's post understanding and taking a look at it, and how's it all going to play out. And it's hard to believe that we're just over 30 days from the playoffs starting, and there's still obviously a few matchups we have no idea what the hell's going to happen, but some we have an idea. So it's as you guys know, it's an incredible time of year, and lots of questions and, lots of opinions, not many answers. But at the end of the day, this is why we do what we do. So it is feeling good and looking forward to, the last just for an 8th to go here. And then we'll see how it all plays out in 30-plus days.
And so before you joined us, we were listening to Sheldon Keefe talk about Luke Schenn, who's in town, not playing tonight. His sort of situation. What are your thoughts on where and how he'll fit in with this Leafs team that's been toying with this 11-7 format, which is something they haven't really done over Keefe's tenure? Yeah.
Well, I think sometimes it's the hand that's your dealt. And, with the injury to O'Reilly, would they be playing 11-7? If they were, if O'Reilly was healthy, he can play that game until you're blue in the face. Sometimes you just got to dress 11-7 out of the necessity, and having stood behind the bench for a couple of years, a long time ago, there is that thought process. Look, I got to get this guy in a game, and especially when you start bringing in, the new bodies in the lineup, and we met myself, Kenny Albert, and Keith Jones, who are doing the game for TNT tonight. We met with Sheldon this morning. We're going to get a chance to meet with Coach Bednar here shortly, but it is that challenge of not only getting guys in, and then obviously with Luke Schenn and his personal issues of dealing at home that that he's had to deal with his wife, but at the end of the day, it's, you got to get guys in there, and sometimes just out of necessity, you're going to have to go to 11-7 if you got so many defensemen there. So I think it is what it is. And look, we all know what Luke Schenn brings. That's why there was such a high demand. I heard at least 10 plus teams had been really kicking the tires on Luke Schenn, and you know what you're going to get. And it gives you a little bit of something that the Leafs, didn't have a lot of, especially on the back end. And when you're a forward and you're coming down or you're playing below the top of the circles, I'm not sure, Justin, if there are any numbers or analytics to look at, how many times a guy gives a shot with his stick or a cross check in the ribs or a cross check in the back. But I would venture to say that those numbers would be pretty damn good for a guy like Luke Schenn, and that takes its toll on guys, whether it's game one, period 2 of game 1 in a playoff series, or most importantly, being a Stanley Cup champion like he is, maybe game 6 or game 7. That has its toll, and you got to have your head on a swivel when he's on the ice, and that's a real positive thing. I think that Kyle and his staff addressed some major needs. But yeah, right now, maybe it isn't. It's probably not ideal. I think if you talk to a lot of defensemen, they'd rather be in the lineup than sitting up with us watching the game. It's probably not ideal, but you got to get them games, and you got to see who can do what, and you just never know when somebody goes down, and you're going to need to play. And just throw two new guys, throw Gustafsson and Schenn out there together, and I've got at least a game and a half or 2 games that I've seen them play, and I have confidence that they can play. Or you know what, I want to stay away from that combination and then figure it out from there. So I know there's a lot there, but I believe it's out of necessity sometimes, but then also too, it's like, okay, well, I got to get these guys in, and we'll figure it out from there when we get completely healthy, and then go back to our normal 12-6.
We're talking to Eddie Olczyk, former teammate of mine, TNT broadcaster extraordinaire.
That was really uncomfortable. You got to practice that stuff. I mean, really. It's my charm.
It's my charm that I'm not good at it.
Former teammate of mine. I mean, yeah, okay. Yeah, I kind of look at it the other way, is that you were a former teammate of mine, because I am a little bit older. So
yeah, without a doubt. You've played at the highest level. You've coached at the highest level. 11-7, you can talk about all you want about depth, but I got to think guys still hate it, or at least defense. As a forward, if I saw
the forwards don't.
Right, more ice time, maybe.
Yeah, 100%. Nobody's texting or emailing or calling Sheldon Keefe after the game complaining that little Johnny isn't getting more ice time.
What about the defense?
Forwards love it.
What about the defense? I don't want to see an extra guy sitting there.
I don't know if you listened to the last 4 minutes of me talking about the defense. Obviously you didn't, or maybe your right ear is not hearing correctly. I just said, look at some guys. It's not easy. It isn't, but. Would you rather be in there as a 7D or whatever the D is, or would you rather be sitting out? I mean, at least for right again. But players will be thinking about this.
Good for the 7th guy. Sucks for the first 4.
Well, why is that?
A rhythm, room on the bench. I don't know. It's just a bad feel for me anyways. And I don't know if it's just a thing that teams now do. It's much more accepted now than it was maybe 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, but I think a lot of, I think more so, I think this started, and I mean, it'd be interesting to get, a real veteran coach that's been around for a long, long time. I mean, first guy I think of, obviously would be Joel Quenneville, but I mean, you could talk to Bruce Boudreau and go, sometimes it's about, I want to get Matthews double shifting. I want to get Marner out there double shifting. And I look at, you can't do that even if you have 12-6. I understand that. And there is a risk with that if, somebody goes down, or, look at what the Rangers had to do in order to make the trade to get Kane to the Rangers. I mean, they were addressing 11-5 at one point. Yeah. Because of the gymnastics with the salary cap. So look at your best players, and you guys tell me who, Kyper, you said the top 4. Okay, whoever the top 4 you think are the Maple Leafs, those guys are going to get their reps. They're going to get their minutes. I mean, maybe you might go out there one time with Gustafsson or maybe McKay bumps up or every once in a while. But, I think most guys, once they get into the game, you want to be going out there all the time. But the understanding is that those guys usually are a piece of the puzzle, and you're going to need them at some point. And as I said earlier, out of necessity sometimes, regardless of what the end game, the end goal or the end game, we understand. But I think that for the forwards, they love it because there's a better chance of me getting out there a little bit more with only 11 than 12.
And so what can we draw for a conclusion from a Colorado team season where, I mean, everyone's been hurt? The biggest, the best players in the team have been struggling. Like, they're third in their division, but, like, do we still feel like this is one of the league's elite teams once they get everyone?
Yes, I think they're the most dangerous team in the Western Conference if they can get, some sort of healthy. I think the only thing that we're waiting for any kind of an injury or whatever is when you ask Coach Jared Bettman about, a certain guy's situation and he comes back on, why he isn't playing. And, is he hurt? Has he got a leg? Has he got a knee? Has he got a groin? Well, only his feelings are hurt because he's a healthy scratch tonight. Like, I think he's probably just,
right.
Dying to say, he's not playing because we don't need him. The season's been unbelievable, but, the West is absolutely wide open, Justin. And I think it really is. But the Avalanche, to me, is when they're going and they're healthy, but they haven't, they've gone on a couple of runs and, but they have had these injuries and the run of them, which is really hard to comprehend. I mean, the other night, Lehkonen gets hurt. He's going to be out now a period of time, and he's a really, really important part to this team, not only positionally, but, the units that he plays on and real integral on the power play. But again, look, it's somebody else's opportunity to step in here. But I think if they can get there, everybody will still question, like I think we all did last year, is the goaltending good enough? Can it be good enough to be able to do what happened last year? And everybody had question marks about Darcy Kemper. He got injured. I mean, he was at least having some issues with that stick in the eye that he took earlier in the year, and some issues in the playoffs. And then Francouz came in, and they were able to win some games. But yeah, I think everything on a equal level. And we haven't even mentioned Landeskog yet, and forget him just coming back. But here's a guy that hasn't played in a long time, so it's going to take him, you would imagine, a few games or two if he can get back, or a series if he indeed comes back. Can he get back to a real impact type of player? So I think there are questions. But looking at the West, I think the one team, if I could, is most intriguing, and I don't think gets anywhere near the pub it should, is LA.
Really?
With the acquisition of Korpisalo, getting Gavrikov in, this is like Todd McClellan's done a hell of a job there. Like they went through a tough time there early. They weren't getting a lot of saves. They're playing a lot of high scoring games, and they've found their game here to last. I'm just going to say 30 games or so, and they're big, they're heavy, they've got experience. Kopitar's playing out of his mind. Now they've got a guy that looks like he can be, instead of seeing 15 A chances in Columbus, he's probably only seeing 8 to 10 right now in LA, and you like your chances with a really elite goaltender. So I think LA is a real interesting team. And then Vegas has found their defensive structure, and Bruce Cassidy's done a hell of a job there, and they're scoring goals now. And so I think it is wide open, but long-winded. I think if Colorado can, get some sort of healthy, I think everything goes through Colorado. I don't care where they finish. They can finish 8th or 3rd or whatever it is. I think they'd be, they're going to be one heck of a tough out.
Just one more for me in the West, and that is whether or not Winnipeg and Seattle let Nashville back into the party here.
Mm-hmm.
Calgary gives up a huge point to the Coyotes last night, but a nervous time for Seattle, who had been real good up until maybe about a week and a half ago at home.
Well, they just lost 2 games to Dallas at home. They've had some games here, like they had the Ottawa. Ottawa was on that the 5-game trip, right? And They got hammered in Chicago, and then they came to Seattle, and they got a big lead, that being Ottawa, and then Seattle came back and had them on the ropes, and then Giroux made a hell of a play, and next thing you know, Ottawa wins the game. But I think for Seattle is that they're in a pretty good spot because they've got Edmonton on Saturday afternoon, they're in San Jose tomorrow night, they've got Nashville a couple of more times, and I think they have Arizona 3 times, they have Chicago 1 time. Now, really, as we've seen, some of these teams that have, that are bubble teams, obviously are still got everything to gain, but the teams at the bottom have really, they're playing loose, they're playing free. We saw Chicago take out Boston. We saw Arizona, as you mentioned, Kyper with Calgary. They've, the last 20-some games, I think they've gotten points at being Arizona. They've gotten points in, 14 or 15 games. So they're play well. There are no easy games, and you got to go out there and find a way. Winnipeg and Seattle here the last little recent time, they've kind of gone through a tough time, but I mean, everybody has, and I think you are what your record is right now, and everybody keeps saying, well, Calgary's going to go on a run. They're going to go on a run. They're going to go on a run. Well, have they gone on a run yet? I mean, I don't know if that. I don't think that answer is yes, but they're still hanging around. And you're right. When you do have a little bit of a dive and you lose, 5 or 7 or whatever it might be, even though, you win 7 games on the road like Seattle did a little bit earlier, you win, you go on the road and win 4 in a row. Like, it's tough. That's what it's going to come down to is can you play to your record? And if you play to your record, Winnipeg and Seattle will both make it, like down the stretch. What do you got, 15 games or whatever it is? If they play to their record, and Justin, you would know this better than anybody with the numbers. Like, if they play to their record, they're going to get in. But you got to start, get accumulating the points and giving yourself some separation. And for Seattle, it starts tomorrow night in San Jose.
Hey, listen, don't ever question my right ear. If I've got issues with my right ear at all, it's because you chewed it off in 1994 with your give me a chance and headline sports.
That's what friends do. And second of all, that was like a very aggressive attack before you started your statement there. So I appreciate the energy and the passion, and I love you guys, and I look forward to being here in Toronto in round 1 at some point against the Lake.
Have a great call, Eddie.
Thanks, appreciate you.
Ed Olczyk, former NHLer, and I was his teammate. Make that clear. Great stuff. He's got the call tonight for TNT in the US of A. All right, we're going to take a quick break.
Well, we got a couple minutes here.
All right.
I do want to throw something out there before we do that.
Canada baseball?
What's that?
Canada baseball?
Oh, what are they up to?
Oh, they're just playing in a big game against Mexico. Win or go home, and they're the first inning.
Winning?
We're down 2-1 in the first inning, but big RBI knock from Blue Jays prospect Otto Lopez.
Oh, big Otto Lopez guy.
And we have no Freddie.
No Freddie. The Dodgers are like, we're done, and they pulled him. He's gone.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw Vladdy's gonna go or wants
he was
to go.
talking about going, but don't go. But no.
Oh, come on.
But yeah,
Hangnail.
Freddie, something with his hammy, and the Dodgers are like,
enough.
Bye. We're paying this guy $800 million per year.
Yeah.
He's coming back to LA.
Can't
We're gonna have a look at him.
fault them
That
there.
tells you all you need to know on how important that tournament is.
Seriously.
What were you gonna say, Bourne?
I was going to say that with all the injuries the Avalanche have had, guys have had to step up for them to be third in their division. Mikko Rantanen's season is maybe one of the under-discussed great seasons in the NHL
100%.
this year. Any guess at how many goals he's got this year?
A lot.
40.
Yeah, 43.
Really?
4th in the NHL in goals behind McDavid, Draisaitl, and Pasternak.
That's a good company.
He should be in, I guess on merit, you'd be talking about him as potentially a Hart finalist if you're talking about most valuable.
Oh, he's been essential to that team.
Just think about now Landeskog coming back to that lineup.
Oh, I know.
You want to talk about the ultimate, warrior power forward.
I love Landeskog.
How can you not?
Yeah.
And by the way, Lehkonen, who's out, is 50 points in 60 games. He's been having an unbelievable season too. So those two guys are obviously integral to their success. And
I do like Lars Eller coming in with his playoff savvy.
That's a nice addition. I will say, so Rantanen has 78 points in 65 games. That's 17th in the NHL, just behind William Nylander. So little love for our hometown boy here with 35 goals and 44 assists. What a season he's having.
And he is 2 points away from a career high.
Bill is.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we go from one great broadcaster to another. Ray Ferraro is going to join us after the break. So what's the deal now? He is, of course, ESPN.
Yes, sir.
Last night they had this cartoon,
Oh yeah.
live cartoon game. Was Ray part of that?
If I hadn't seen that
it
and you were describing that, I'd be like, what are you talking
It was
about?
Mess who was on the call last night. Mess was on the call. So it wasn't Ray.
But Kevin Weeks did the color
but
commentary for
they-
Big
they-
City Greens.
Like I saw Kevin Weeks
Oh, I don't
in
know.
the cartoon.
Well, we have the man. You should ask him.
We're going to ask him
Perfect.
if Disney drew him a middle-aged, crusty guy.
I know the goalies were, I think the ref was a chicken and the goalie was something else. They used the player
nailed it.
tracking to, anyway.
They should have done the rest
fascinating
as the
visual.
three blind mice.
All right. Ray
It is, that's
Ferraro,
good.
ESPN hockey analyst. After the break, you're watching and listening to Real Kyper and Bourne.
is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
All right, we go from Eddie Olczyk from TNT to Ray Ferraro, ESPN.
Great guest.
I wonder if this is like in this first real year of like Channel 7 versus Channel 9 kind of a Anchorman thing going. Like right now,
Probably not, Kev.
right now in a knife fight, who would you take, TNT or ESPN?
Listen, I'm picking whoever side Ray's on every time.
Ray, who you going with?
Yep, you've seen me fight.
I have.
I'm picking whoever's on the other side because they probably win. Kip? I'm sure Kip. Like I know you have, but you halfway through a fight, you go, I'm in the wrong fight.
You got a memorable one?
Oh boy, my rookie year, I fought Steve Thomas.
Oh, big mistake.
Yeah, halfway through that, I realized he's the middleweight champ of the world.
Yes.
And to steal a line from Jamie McLennan, I came third in that fight.
I made a couple of mistakes early in my junior career going up against Stumpy.
Oh, and then you're like, where are they? Because I don't know how to fight really to start with anyway, but I figure he's my size and it can't be that bad. And I'm like, where are all these punches coming from? Like, how many guys am I fighting? And so when he got traded to the Islanders, I used to say from time to time to him, hey, Stump, tell the guys about the time I kicked your ass in Toronto. And he'd go, yeah, I had to go to the hospital, broke 2 knuckles.
See, they could put that in your animation show last night for Disney and ESPN. I'm looking for you in that animation. Where were you?
I didn't make the cut. Didn't make it. And by the way, I thought that was amazing. Like, could you imagine if you were a little kid and you got to see that, and then they interview the referee and it's a chicken, and like, I don't know. I thought it really doesn't take the game very seriously. Yet, if you're watching hockey, the kids are playing video games all the time, and they all got these little caricatures. And I just thought, I thought the whole thing was awesome.
I'd never go back to the real thing if I was like a kid.
Like, why would you want to listen to a bunch of us talk? You go listen to guys in animation. I thought it was great.
Well, it certainly seems like there's room for growth in that department. I know other sports like Nickelodeon has done some stuff with the other leagues, so hopefully we see some more of that. Ray, we probably won't see it this year anytime soon. By the time the Leafs play the Lightning in the first round, we haven't had you on this season. I'd be remiss if I didn't get your thoughts on this year's iteration of the Toronto Maple Leafs and, hey, their chances against that same old Tampa Bay Lightning team.
I think the worry that it's the Leafs always have a good regular season and they have a bad playoff, and I get why that's just baked into the mindset of the fans in Toronto. I mean, it's been forever, right? Yeah. I think they're really good. I don't love their goaltending. So, most teams are gonna end up second place to Vasilevsky anyway. So that's just the way it is. So the next concern would be, is that defense gonna be stout enough in a playoff series? Yet, for the most part this year, all the time it's been, while it might not look the way you want, it has been really pretty good. And their forwards are deeper, more varied in their construction as opposed to in the past. I think they're a better team than Tampa this year. Tampa's team, through the number of games they've played the last 3 years, the defections that have gone through free agency, the age, that creeps up while you're not looking. They're not as good a team as they were in the past. I mean, I think it'll be a hell of a series, but I think Toronto should be relatively confident that they've got the right team for this time.
God, it makes so much sense, but you'll never get John Cooper to admit that they're tired or they've played so much hockey. But Is that what we've seen in the last 10 or 15 games? Or is it mental? Like, why haven't they been a good hockey club the last, month maybe? 500?
Well, I would say, Kip, it's a couple of things. One is that it's hard to play championship hockey or top caliber hockey for 82 games. Imagine trying to do that for 3 years or 4 years now. And yet they've only got 22 losses. It's not like they're a disaster. But Stamkos has been in a bit of a lull before he got hurt. Point and Kucherov have been the big boys all year. You know, the guy that's really struggled, and I think it hurts them immeasurably to his standard, is Victor Hedman. He just has not had a great year by Norris caliber standards. And that, given, you lose Ryan McDonough as well. You lose a guy like Jan Ruta, who you never really look at, but man, he kind of just fit in that mix there. Their defense isn't as good. They spend more time in their zone. Check out the number of times they give up 40 shots in a game. It's kind of shocking. Mm-hmm. And I think they're just so well coached and well seasoned that they can work around that. I think it's going to be hard to just continually kick it up another gear. And it kind of feels like this is the best Nylander's ever been. I mean, clearly Matthews has got another gear, yet he's starting to heat up a little bit. Marner's had an amazing year. Like O'Reilly and Tavares had I'm going to go through the lineup and go, I just think they're better constructed. I think they're a pretty well-constructed team. And if you go through any team in the league, you can nitpick one part of their roster because the cap means you can't have everything.
Yeah, that is the reality, which is why it's been strange this year when we've been sitting here, and we've been talking about the Bruins and going, well, that's a team that has it, right? They seem like they've been perfect. They've had their first little lull here, a couple of losses, but I don't think anyone's panicking over the Bruins. Do you feel that they're as good as their record reflects? Like right now, if you look at them, they're one of the best records in NHL history if they continue this pace. Do you think they're that good and that dangerous come playoffs?
I have a hard time. You know how you remember things from when you were a kid? And I have a hard time remembering that or equating this Bruins team to the Canadiens of 76, 77, or those Islander great teams. I'm like there's that your dad played for. Like there's just no, I don't see it. Yet win. It's amazing. They don't give up any goals. They don't. I mean, I know they've taken a nap here for the last 4 games or so, but even if you look at the construction of their team, they're helped by a couple of things. Pasternak's extension doesn't kick in until next year. They're paying their top 2 centers $3.5 million combined. Right. Like that just doesn't happen, right? Like how could that be? Could that be a weak spot once you get to games 90 of the season? Maybe. But if I'm the Bruins, I look at the schedule and what do they got? Like 15 games left. I think the next, until you get to 7 games left, I'm not worried about a thing for the Bruins except making sure my guys are healthy and rested as possible. If that means Bergeron sits out 4 of the next 8 games, I don't care. Same with Krejci. I don't care. But I need about 5 to 7 games so they can recalibrate before the playoffs. And if you're the Bruins, the points record, who cares? Who cares? You could get the points record and then get kicked in the pants in the first round. Good, congratulations. They don't want that. They're built in a really solid, consistent way. They look so organized. And one point I'll say on that is that when Jim Montgomery took over, we were doing one of their early games, and he said, look, I was lucky here because the Bruins have been a great defensive team for a lot of years. I've got a couple of the assistant coaches from that team in Chris Kelly and Joe Sacco who are back. He goes, we didn't change a thing, really, defensively. Not too much. I mean, why change? My job was to get more offense, and that's where you see their D are way more active all over the place, up the ice, in the zone. They play a more aggressive offensive style. But he's like, we already had the defensive foundation here. Like, what a luxury, right, to be able to build from.
You know, just thinking about the Bruins, and you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, because if things continue to have rolled the last 15 games, you know, the narrative right off the bat is they haven't faced any adversity, and it's coming.
Yeah, but what are you going to do, right? You have it. That's for us to talk about. For them, you can only play the game in front of you. They just happen to be better than everybody else. And so except I will say this, though. Go back to September. Who didn't think about the Bruins? Their top two centers are 37 years old. They don't have McAvoy, Marchand, or Grzelcyk into November. Man, if they can just hang on, they're going to be okay. And then they won their first 8 games, or 8 of their first 9. Like, now they don't have Taylor Hall and Nick Foligno, who, by the way, I don't know how you can't feel good for one of the good guys in the game. He's had a miserable couple years with injury, and he was on waivers last year, and until he got hurt, he's had a fantastic year.
Yes.
But once they get him and Hall back, their team really rounds out again. I think they've dealt with everything they have to, and they've had to this year, and they've put themselves in a position to make a good run of things. Will it happen? I don't know, but man, I'd sure like to be starting at the starting line from their position.
We're talking to Ray Ferraro, ESPN hockey analyst. You like anything in the East in terms of teams getting back in it? It's almost as if we watch Pittsburgh lose to Montreal and the Islanders lose to LA, and you're like, where's the push going to come from now to challenge them? It doesn't seem to be there from Florida at times or Buffalo at times. Are they going to just get in by default here, or is someone going to push?
Well, you know what, Kip? The two teams I keep staring at, Florida, I can't quite get my head around because they're not they've used this and they've said it kind of off and on as a little bit of a reset year. You know, they've got all kinds of money coming off the books next year. They feel like, you know, they almost felt like they were going to take a step back this year, and really they have. I mean, they had 122 points last year, but they've got a couple of games in hand on the Islanders. They're just 3 points back. Buffalo's got they got 3 games in hand. They're 5 points back. So it's not over yet. I think Pittsburgh's going to make it. I really do. Even though it must be confounding to watch and coach that team because, man, they gave up 7 shots in the first period yesterday, and they're down 4-2.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need great goaltending, but you can't have that goaltending.
And then have guys on the bench looking through their gloves.
Oh, Kip, how many times you just sit there and you look back and you go, just one of them, get in front of one of them, would you?
Yeah, we don't need them all. Just something. Help us out. One team
and it's funny. Yeah. You know the goalie's looking out. You know, when I lose my man 12 feet from the net and the guy hammers a one-timer in, you know he's looking at you like, really? Did you not see him there?
It goes both ways.
But never when Heels was in that.
Oh, I loved going back there when Heels was having a bad day, and you'd go back there, and he would just start giving it to you from about 5 feet away. All I was doing was going back there to say, hey, don't worry about it. He's giving it to me from 4 different directions.
There would have been a better chance of you getting slashed by him than Heels slashing the other team.
I'm going to go off the board and tell my favorite Glenn Healy story. We're in St. Louis. He doesn't start, so he is sour beyond belief. And there was no room in the old rink for the spare goalie on the bench, so he sat down in the Zamboni entrance. Just like a little kid, that head of his sticking over the boards. Halfway through the second period, Brett Hull gets his 3rd goal. They're playing the Budweiser song. Bah, 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 bah. Everybody's throwing hats on the ice. Al Arbor tells me, go tell Heels he's going in. So all the guys are coming on the ice to shovel the hats up. And I'm skating through them, going back. Heels is just sitting on his chair with his arms folded. He sees me coming, and he's shaking his head.
Yes.
He's like,
I know this one, yeah.
He's like, I'm not going. I go, Heels, Al says you got to go in. He goes, you tell him to go in. He yells, come on. So I turn around, I go back to the bench, and Al had that big, deep voice. He's like, where's Healy? And I go, he says he's not coming. He goes, you go down there. So I turn around again, and here comes Heels through the guys collecting the hats to come off to the ice. It was so good.
That's an all-timer. I mean, you got to have some personalities on the team. I actually want to ask you about that with the Leafs. Like, they added some guys, Noel Acciari, Sam Lafferty, Jake McCabe, some guys who – aren't afraid to get in the face of the other guys and have some of that personality. Like, do you agree with the direction they went here, trying to get a little sandpaper and, I guess, personality to a team that didn't have a ton of it?
Yes, because a couple things. First, I'll start with Kyle Dubas. I get it, but I don't get it. Like, what else do people want him to do? Like, the team's got 115 points again.
Right.
Like, what exactly is he supposed to do? Like, where have they fallen down here building this team? I don't see it. Now, you could say a couple years ago they were way too top heavy. They added guys that were past their due date. So I use this example. They added players that were $10 players that only had $6 left to give. Like, that's all they had in their tank.
Right.
That's not what they did this year. Like, Sam Lafferty is a player that on 29 teams, nobody's going to notice. And he gets more play in Toronto because it's Toronto. But he's a good player. Like, he can do his job and do it effectively and will do it effectively when the games get hard. Noel Acciari is like a bowling ball that you start at the top of the hill, and he hits everything on the way down. Like, he's played that from the first second he came into the league.
Yeah.
O'Reilly has some game left, like some top-end game. Now, I worry about his foot speed always, but he's not been fast forever. He's really smart. He knows how to play. Now, all of this looks great, and the personality is right, and they were able to target shop for the pieces they need. I think that's always more effective than teams that take the big swing at the deadline. The big swing rarely works. It's more the teams that have a lot of their team in order and they target shop. Those ones seem to be the teams that do better.
Well, as far as chemistry goes, I think Toronto's been searching for it, and the New York Rangers as well. Do you buy into that? It does take some teams a lot more time after a trade deadline?
Oh, I do. I think depends on the significance of the change, right? Mm-hmm. Like, look at the Rangers. Like, last year, guys, they target shopped. They went and got Frank Vetrano, Andrew Kopp, and Tyler Mott. They're not world beaters, but, man, those guys fit perfect. Detroit has Kopp in the middle, which is where he was drafted and where his original position is. I like him on the wing because I think he forechecks better. He's a better complementary player. Vetrano has one elite NHL skill, and that's a shot. And he didn't need the puck. Just when it came to him, he shoots it in the net. And so that fit. Mott was a really good penalty killer. So you didn't have to change much. Right now, Gerard Gallant's juggling balls all over the place. What is the best place for Kane? Who's the best center for Tarasenko? Where does the power play all fit? How do you make it all work? I think it's a real challenge in New York. I really do.
Hey, Razor Man, really appreciate your time on our show, and I'm pushing hard to get you a cartoon.
Oh, I'm a cartoon character. Actually,
I'm going for that middle-aged, crusty look.
Oh, yeah, but hang on. If there's somebody that should be in a cartoon, it's you.
Oh, gosh.
Could you imagine your avatar, Kip? Two things, your laugh and your ass. Could you imagine?
Which one's bigger?
I don't know.
Great stuff, man. Enjoy the rest of the season. We'd love to have you on back, okay?
You betcha. You guys be well, and we'll talk soon. Take
Rick
care, everybody.
Ferraro,
Appreciate your
ESPN
time.
hockey analyst. He's hilarious.
Oh, he is. He's good as it gets, man.
Yeah.
Knows his stuff.
That was a delight.
And I got to say, if you're a Leafs fan and you heard that interview, oh, did you enjoy that? You're like,
Yeah.
oh, Tampa Bay's reeling. The Leafs
Yeah.
ads are good. Dubas did good things to the deadline. Tickled a lot of people's fancies out there.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I thought you might have.
I enjoyed that.
Just to kind of pick up on the New York Rangers. I know you guys, Sammy, how many games did you watch last night?
Every game.
I hope you played in extra rewards too.
Crap.
That's all right. You don't want 15
Buddy,
Follow
bucks.
the bag,
I would
kid.
have been rich.
Yeah,
You like the Rangers a lot, eh?
I do. I think that come playoffs, last year they showed they can do it in the pressure situations. The kid line's a year older. They got scoring depth, great D-men. They got a great goalie. Like,
Kane's best game last night.
you know, that's the part. The chemistry up front has to be sorted out a little
Yeah.
bit, but I would not like to face them.
Watching Mark Messier last night call the game for ESPN, and a big thing, topic of conversation was the chemistry and it needing time. But it's almost as if I watched Pat Kane last night kind of go, all right.
I'm feeling his way in.
Well, but we need a shooter here,
oh, yeah.
right? And I can shoot the puck. And I think if he kind of has that mentality now that I've got enough dishers here where I could start really focusing on shooting the puck in the net,
Yeah.
kind of like Connor McDavid conscientiously said to himself at the beginning of the year, yeah, I'm changing it up a little bit here.
Yeah. No, that's, and elite players do that. Like, how am I best used? What skills can I, bring to this group? And he initially probably a little bit, you want to show your new line mates that you're great vision, you're helping them out, you're fun to play with. And eventually you get to the point where I might be best suited firing this thing in the net. I mean, Panarin, Zibanejad, Tarasenko as a first line is all kinds of nifty, but Kreider, Trocheck, Kane is good. Lafreniere, Hedl, Kako.
They just got a little bit of everything for you.
They do. That's a good team, man. Miller and Trouba, Mikkola and Fox.
Yeah.
I mean, Schneider on the third pair is good.
Is their goalie any good or no?
Yeah, right. What are you in
Shesterkin
the
did
Vezina?
come back down to earth a little bit, though.
Yeah, but from the heights of Mount Everest
Yes.
to,
Good
K2
point.
or something. So he's still very effective. Man.
Connor McGregor at the game
Yeah.
at Madison
In
Square.
full 9-piece suit.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He was there. So
I give him a one-day contract just to sit on the bench and just stare guys down.
Not a
Is
fan.
there
Not a fan of
anyone
his.
in sports that you recognize is a complete dipshit, but you fully enjoy them anyway? I'm a big fan of McGregor, and I realize he's a scummy dude.
I hate his guys.
Yeah, he's an awful guy.
I hate his
the
guts.
worst type of person.
Does
That's
not-
awful
Hey,
guy.
Perfect fourth line guy.
Yeah, right. I'd love
That's
him on the
what
fourth
I
line.
want on my fourth line.
Yeah.
I don't like really any UFC stuff a whole lot, but he stands alone for me as a despised guy.
Oh, he's awful. Tiger
Awful
Woods is
dude.
not a good person.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Listen, I've been. Let's not get into that.
It's
No further
always about
comments
the
or questions
game
at
at
the
the
end.
end of it, right?
Listen, Michael Jordan's no hero, Listen, I
Yeah, don't meet your.
can't help it.
Don't meet your
Anyone
heroes.
else you want to take a run at before we go to break?
Here's some of the greatest athletes on earth. I'm good for now.
I despise that dude.
All right.
All right.
Get us to break, will you?
All right. Arif Dean is going to talk Avs after the break and their chances of coming back and winning another Stanley Cup. That and more. We'll get your predictions, boys, before we go off air on Toronto and Colorado. All right. Quick break, and we're back after these words.
is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Okay, we welcome in Arif Dean, covers the Colorado Avalanche for Mile High Sports. He also hosts Hockey Mountain High. Arif, how are you?
I'm good, Nick. How are you?
We're well. Thanks for joining us. Just want to get into the Avs, who the Leafs will see tonight, and just where they are. It's I said earlier in the show, it's almost as if one step forward, two steps back when it comes to them dealing with these injury issues.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the entire season. It's kind of been a drag, and I have to say, like, I respect the heck out of whatever John Cooper and the Tampa Bay Lightning have been doing these last 3-4 years is so impressive, because the Avalanche won one cup and everything has just been a drag for this team, from injuries to just getting through the regular season. It's kind of crazy to think that they're 17-5-3 in their last 25, 26 games or so, because it's just been bad news after injury after bad news after an unfortunate trade deadline, if you want to put it that way. It's just been a very strange regular season for the team.
So are they on track to get everyone back? Could they be fully healthy come a playoff run?
The only one that's a little bit of a question mark, well, a big question mark right now, is Gabe Landeskog, and it's not by any means a small, part of their lineup. Obviously, Arturi Lehkonen just broke his finger, which it wasn't confirmed, but I don't know if you saw the replay for his second goal in Montreal. He deflected a shot from the point on the power play that hit him in the glove and went in, and I'm pretty sure that's the one that broke his finger. So,
yeah,
similar to Ryan O'Reilly, it's about a 4 to 6 week timeline, so he should be back. Josh Manson is expected back by the end of March. Darren Helm looks to be getting closer. Curtis McDermott's not really a regular, but he's getting closer. Pavel Francouz is a little bit of a ways away, but he should be ready. Same for Eric Johnson. The only question the entire season has and continues to be Gabe Landeskog's health, which went from, back on July 13th, the day that free agency opened, we talked to Chris McFarland, and he said nobody from the Stanley Cup team is going to have any lingering issues in training camp. Mm-hmm. And then we got to training camp, and Gabe Landeskog and Darren Helm weren't dressed. And then Gabe Landeskog, we found out that when he started skating again in August, he started to feel some knee discomfort. Then he had another procedure. They said it was a 12-week recovery. 12 weeks came and went. He still hasn't been recovered, and now it's gone from they expect him back in mid-March, late March, to fingers crossed he even plays a game.
He is skating now, though. He's training every day. Is there a sense that he's getting stronger and he will be a part of this?
He is getting stronger, but he's still in just the early stages. The first day he took the ice, we went out to watch him at the practice rink, and it was a very robotic, working on half a stride at a time. He started to ramp it up a little bit, but not to a point where he looks healthy enough to even be part of a full practice and a non-contact, let alone taking contact. So it's been a very slow progression for him, but he is making those steps, and it just kind of seems, my prediction with him is if he does come back, it's going to be one of those things where, as silly as it sounds, he's not ready until he is. Last year in the Stanley Cup final, Kadri missed game 1, and, we saw him walking around the hallways with a sling on his hand, and then he missed game 2, and then they flew to Tampa, and he flew with the team, and we're like, well, there's no reason for this, and he missed game 3, and then we showed up to game 4, and he was in morning skate taking part in line rushes on the power play. So that, sudden Nazem Kadri is going to play, I feel like if Gabe Landeskog plays this year, it's going to be pretty similar to that. We're going to not expect it until eventually he just says, you know what, I'm ready to go.
A player like Josh Manson, for obvious reasons, doesn't get the spotlight on him like a Landeskog, but we know how coveted those guys are at the trade deadline. Tough, stay at home, playoff hockey kind of guy. It just seems a little strange to me that he was in the lineup, then out of the lineup. Clearly, he's got some issues going on, but what are the odds that this guy's going to be able to play every day or every other day for the Avalanche to try to win a second Stanley Cup? And what have they been like with the lack of his presence?
So I'll answer that second part first. The conversation around the Toronto Maple Leafs missing Jake Muzzin the entire season until they eventually added sort of a Jake Muzzin light and coincidentally Jake McCabe is what you notice when Josh Manson's not in the lineup. Like he was, I think we don't put enough credit on what the Avalanche did at the deadline last year, not in the sense of like, you know, everybody talks about how the Avs didn't, you know, they didn't add the big name. They didn't get the Claude Giroux or this year's version of Patrick Kane. They went out and added guys like Arturi Lekin and Josh Manson. But like Josh Manson to me doesn't strike me as the type of player that, you know, just slightly put them over the edge. He strikes me as the kind of guy that was the exact type of D-man they were missing on that line. Because, you know, Byram, Taves, Makar, Sam Girard, all smaller guys that play a very similar style game. They can be physical, but not to the extent of what Josh brings. So he's very much a key piece of this lineup. He's the only guy on the team that does what he does. And when he's missing, in my opinion, it hurts a lot more than when you're missing a Bo Byram or Sam Girard, because when Byram's out, Sam Girard and Cale Makar can pull weight and vice versa. So he is a key piece of the team now. The injury thing, it was whatever injury was hampering him earlier in the season is why he was out again. And Jared Bednar made that very clear. It was the same thing with Darren Helm. He entered the lineup and exited again because of the same injury that was hurting him earlier. Cale Makar with his concussions, same exact thing. So it kind of strikes me like the Avalanche were kind of rushing guys back a little early, but now they're taking a more, you know, wait and see approach with him. You know, Jared the other day did something that he hasn't done all season, was he gave a pretty specific timeline with Josh. He said he'll play games by the end of March. And it kind of seems and sounds like they're taking it really slow with him, making sure that they don't mess it up this time so that he's out another week or two later. Because the last time he returned, his very first game back against the Minnesota Wild, he was so impactful and it was so noticeable. Again, similar to what you noticed with the Leafs when they add a Jake Muzzin or a Jake McCabe. It gave the team a very different look on the blue line, and they would be silly to rush him back at this point because they know how important he is in the playoffs.
You know, Cale Makar is a guy who, you know, I expect to be a Norris top 3 guy for the next decade, essentially. But, you know, statistically this year, maybe not quite at the levels people thought he may be. Has he been hampered by the concussions? I see he has 10 points in his last 5 games. So it seems like he's doing okay. What do you make of Cale Makar's season to date?
Early in the season, he was just kind of asked to do way too much for way too much time on ice. He never really had much of a summer break, and then he came back and he was playing a lot of minutes. There were some games this year where he was playing 32 plus minutes. And it was in that same, there was the November-December stretch where a lot of guys were playing those minutes, playing up into January. In December, he played upwards of 31 minutes against the Islanders. In November, upwards of 32 against Dallas, upwards of 32 against Carolina, and he did that in a 3-game stretch. He just was playing way too many minutes, relied on to do way too much. Bowen Byram missed 3 months. Josh Manson missed 3 months. It was him and Taves and Girard. Girard had an unbelievably slow start to the season. His season has completely turned around since New Year's Day. New Year's Eve was that game against the Maple Leafs where Toronto came to Denver and really embarrassed the Avalanche 6-2. But since then, Girard has pulled his weight, so that's taken minutes away. Obviously, having Bo back has taken minutes away. Josh at times. The Avalanche haven't had all 5 of their top defensemen healthy and in the same game. So that's Cale and Devon, that's Josh and Byram, and then that's Sam Girard as on the third pair as the number 5 guy. All 5 of those guys haven't played the same game since November 4th in Finland. So when they have all 5 of those guys, with number 6 being, any number of Jack Johnson, Eric Johnson, or Brad Hunt, it'll really ease the pressure off of him. But for times this season, kind of like Mikko Rantanen, he's just had to play way more minutes than he's used to, and then he should be coming off the Stanley Cup run.
We're talking to Arif Dean, who covers the Colorado Avalanche for Mile High Sports. So much talk over Darcy Kemper leaving after winning a Stanley Cup. The thought of Georgiev coming in now and trying to anchor this team down. Has he done what he needed to do this year to make people believe that he could be the goalie to maybe win a second championship?
Oh, I think so. I don't know, Nick and Justin. Have you guys ever talked to Alexander before?
No.
He's such. I've yet to meet, and it doesn't come off as arrogant. It's just confident. I've yet to meet a more confident guy than Alex Georgiev. When you talk to him about being a starter and going on these long stretches, like the other day, I told him, you're tied with Igor Shesterkin in wins, tied for fourth in the NHL or something, and he kind of just looked up at me and said, "Oh, I know." And he has this confidence to him, like, I got this, I can do this. Whenever people throw out stats like, you played this game, you played, I think it was 12 consecutive games. It's always like, yeah, I'll play every night, and that's always what I've wanted. He always tries to reflect back to, this is what I've always wanted, this is what I've always said I've wanted, kind of reminding everybody of his time in New York and why it went the way it did. So it seems like he's always thought he could do this, but it was hard to really gauge if that was a smart move by the Avalanche's, management until he started to play. He had a little bit of a blip there in November, December, or maybe mid-December through mid-January when the entire Avalanche did. But he's been incredible since. Frankie has been in and out of the lineup to back up Pavel Francouz. And Georgie's been carrying the weight. And his numbers, they look very similar to what Darcy Kemper had last season in the regular season. And the difference is, with a fully healthy decor, his numbers are only, probably going to get better. And he hasn't had a healthy decor all season like Darcy did a year ago.
All right, last one for me, Arif. I just want to get a sense for the Central Division, and if you could handicap that for us. Like, how important is it that this Avalanche team climb the standings and get home ice or anything of that? Is that important for them, or is this a team that just wants to get in?
It's funny. I asked Jared that 2 months ago when it looked like they were, stuck in a wild card position. Maybe not 2 months ago, maybe about 6 weeks ago when they started winning games. And he said, "Oh, we're not there anymore. Like, we're confident getting in. We were great on the road last year. If you remember in the playoffs last year, they lost one road game, and it was Game 3 in Tampa. They didn't lose. They were 9-1 on the road in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And he kind of reminded us of that and said, we don't really care about home ice advantage anymore. Then they started going on this run. They went 14-2-2. And then I asked him again, and he said, you know what? First place is within reach we kind of wanted. And Nathan McKinnon said he was score watching and he wants it too. So they kind of go back and forth on it. I think they do want the higher seed, but whether they play Minnesota or Dallas or one of the wild card teams, be it Winnipeg or, I don't know, Nashville if they make a run, or Calgary if they have some miracle run, or even Seattle. Like, I don't think any of those teams really scare the Avalanche. I think the two that could give them a little bit of pause are Vegas a little bit and Dallas even more, because Dallas plays a very heady game. So I don't think they're concerned about when they play Dallas. I just think that they'll have to get through Dallas to make it to the Stanley Cup if they want to do it again. There's a chance right now that Minnesota can catch the Stars and they end up in a 2-3 matchup with the Stars, or there's a chance that they catch the Stars and have Minnie and Dallas play, in the 2-3, or maybe they play Minnesota. But the Stars are the one team that I think concerns them. Home ice on the road, it doesn't really matter. They won't admit it, but Dallas is the only team that I think gives them a bit of pause. They went into Dallas the other day and lost. I think it was 7-3 was the final. And if you look back at the last three times the Avs have lost in the playoffs, in 2019, they lost to Pete DeBoer and the Sharks. In 2020, they lost to Dallas. In 2021, they lost to Pete DeBoer in Vegas. Put it all together, you got Dallas coached by Pete DeBoer, and it's a tough matchup for them.
Arif, I'd be remiss if I had you on the show and I didn't ask you this next question. Our producer, Sammy's a huge Dennis Malgin fan, and just wondering how he's doing.
He's been spectacular. He's been so fun to talk to. He had a very similar stretch to what he had with the Toronto Maple Leafs to start the year, where he was getting all these opportunities and all these breakaways, and he just couldn't bury the puck. And now suddenly he's got six goals in his last 13 games.
Wow!
They
can't afford him.
So yeah, right. So here's a fun fact: Arturi Lekkonen's out of the lineup. Guess who's stepping into the top six tonight?
There you go. It's Malgin time, baby.
We'll be watching. Sammy will be watching with regret. Arif, really appreciate your time.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks so much,
Arif
man.
Dean. That was a terrific job.
Knows them in and out. Yeah, Malgin, 6 goals in 13 games. Who'd have thunk it? Could he be Callie Yarncroc on the top line with Matthews and Marner? Let me save you time on that. No, he
You've
could
been
not.
Malgin right out of the league.
I didn't know where you were going with that. I was like, what's he going to... And then the Malgin came out of your mouth. I almost threw my phone through the desk.
It'll be a good watch tonight.
Listen, there are limits to Leaf fandom where it's like, surely that won't happen.
Surely that won't. Surely Mason Marner
it's like
won't become a $5 million guy.
It's like, surely Rasmus Sandin won't get another assist last night and play 26 more minutes. Surely Dennis Malgin won't have 6 goals in his last 13 games and play in the top 6.
In San Jose. Hey,
it's like, there's no end to the curse. Like, it's just every aspect of being a Leaf fan has to be just jammed down your throat at all times.
So he was talking, this is true. He was talking about Cale Makar's time on ice, and so I was just giving it a quick perusal. A game against the Oilers this year, a regular season game, he played 33:09.
60 minutes.
They went to overtime. All he did was have a goal, an assist, +2, the OT winner, all that. 33 minutes plus. That's wild.
It's going to be fun watching him tonight.
Yeah, he's rolling. Like I said, 10 points in his last 5 games.
Yeah.
So, put a bell on him.
I think they are just, with all these injuries and all these guys, it just shows you what a war the playoffs are. Like, if these guys the short summer, you get little things you pick up over having to play that much more hockey than everybody else. But then Tampa's, they're cyborgs. They don't really have, none of their guys get hurt.
It's tough not to leave the show with some optimism about the opposition, though, that Tampa has been through this. They've been there. Whether you win the cup or not, you play until June.
So they can have a 500 record for like the last month and a half. And then you watch them last night and you go, okay, that team's scary.
Yeah. And like, no biggie, but like Tampa's 2 points behind the Leafs. They're not 10 points behind them. They're 2 points behind them. So
yeah, you can't be dropping points to the Sabres when you're up 2-0 with 10 minutes left in the second period.
No, you certainly cannot.
Like watching Hagel last night in that first period. I focused on the Ranger game. I know you, Sammy, you watched a lot more of it than I did.
I did my pre-scout.
You can see in the highlights that, okay, I get the 2 first rounders for this guy.
See him rip it off the bar. Didn't even score, but he ripped it.
So I think that their decor is definitely nowhere near as good as it was last year. Like we talked about McDonough, but like Radish is playing a lot. Perbix, Chernak got hurt last night and he's not even that great or whatever. But their forward depth is obscenely scary.
It is.
Like, I know their fourth line, you can talk about how like they're not really the factor I'm worried about. But you look at Cirelli scored last night. Hagel scored last night.
Killorn
scored last night. Like, it's just the second wave.
Yeah.
We heard from Ray Ferraro talking about Hedman, who's not having, as Ray put it, a banner season. Is there any stock at all on that being a good thing for the Toronto Maple Leafs, or is it the fact that Morgan isn't at his best of his game either, and maybe that's a wash? Is that just hopeful thinking?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, all right, never mind.
Hey, I really appreciate the positivity, Kim. I really do.
I'm trying, Sammy.
Though, like with Victor Hedman, like this guy's a future Hall of Famer. He is 32. And so some people think that's prime for a D-man. That's not old, right? That's still a number where you can be really good. But he's 32 and off playing 1,000 games in a row here. He's had 4 deep runs, and he's been the guy playing 25, 30 minutes a night. Like, if there were more miles on his knees, is my point, it would be understandable were he to be slowing down a bit. He's got 43 points in 63 games this year. He's not doing
Honestly,
nothing.
I like send him to like Florida. Oh no, wait a second. Send him somewhere though to like to Ray's point, like shutting down. He said Patrice Bergeron for like 4 out of 6 games. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that the perfect guy to just
let him rest?
Like from here on in,
you're finishing in the 2-3 battle. Don't worry about home ice. Just make sure your guys are at their best. He has in the playoffs over the past 4 years, it's been 17 to 25, 23, 23 games. He's played 155 playoffs.
Aren't you guys just sick of this. just
I love that
one
your best
year.
leave hope is that the other team just doesn't want to do it anymore.
Aren't they just sick of this?
You guys just go away.
1 year, just be done with it.
Pay them off.
Yeah, just beat it. That's how the MLSE will finally wield its wealth. Throw it at the other team to go away.
So we didn't really nail down on the Bruins. I don't know if you guys watched any of that game last night. Once again, I was watching, just grinding.
So a
over
horrible
games.
start for the Bruins.
Yeah.
And then they chip away and they come back.
They took the lead at one point,
And
3-2.
then the house caved in.
Boris Kachuk scored. He looked like, honestly, a prime Ovechkin. I don't know if you saw the goal that he scored,
No.
but he caught Forbort going the wrong way and just pulled it into the inside. He tripped over his feet. He comes down, goes top corner. To me,
Boris Kachuk, former Tampa Bay Lightning player.
yeah, and Radish in the same trade, right?
Yeah.
To me, watching the game, it looked like a team that doesn't care about the game. Like, it's like, it's not just the Leafs that has nights against crappy teams where, you're like, what, I'm really having a tough time getting up for this. And it's a reminder, the Leafs do it way more, but there are other teams that do it from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, the Bruins have given up 11 goals to, I believe it was Detroit, Chicago, to the back-to-back opponents. They lost to Edmonton, so they've lost 3 of their last 4. And this is not to say that they're going away, but yeah, I mean, it's tough to sustain, and I'm sure nice to see for whoever a first-round opponent may be that, like, they can falter, they can give up a cluster, and maybe get in the goalies' heads.
And boy, Marchand last night took a bad fall, like caught an edge close to the boards, and like his knee kind of got twisted up and he banged into the boards. And it's like, oh my, all I thought was Kyper being like, just don't get hurt. This time of year, just don't get hurt. Like, it feels like there's going to be one, I guess it's Svechnikov would be the big one, but there's going to be another one where it's like,
Yes.
oh my God.
Yeah.
You just hope it's not.
There's
in blue
luck
and white.
involved in winning a Stanley Cup. There
A
is.
lot.
The other thing too is if Tampa is running out of gas or it's catching up to them, they shouldn't have been so physically dominating over New Jersey, should they?
Yeah.
And you saw that. You saw that push.
Yeah.
Like, did they run them over last night?
Yeah, they did.
They did, yeah. They took it to them. And that's the concern with New Jersey, is that they're a team more susceptible to that. The Leafs are trying to ensure against allowing that. Like I said to you guys on this show, Tampa Bay is the number 1 team in the NHL in penalty minutes. They will take it right to you and see if you can hold up.
Yeah. Go after Vasilevsky and see what happens.
Yeah.
You got to take 5 of them are taking penalties.
Yeah, you don't get within a stick's length of their crease, but you're going to have to. You might have to take some abuse and hope your power play can do it. I don't know. We had a Gary Bettman presser today, Sammy.
Oh, one more time?
We had a Gary Bettman presser
sorry.
today.
I don't know what happened there, but I couldn't hear you.
You're fine.
We have some clips from it. Would you like to hear any?
I would
Not
like-
really.
No?
You don't want to hear Gary? I
Okay.
heard Gary give the
We got
promo
some-
to Big City Greens.
We got some time.
So-
Everything's hunky-dory, I bet.
So these are all, the clips are about the divisional playoffs working well. There's expansion. There is, what else we got here? And about the cap going up. So which one would you like?
Start with the cap.
Yeah.
Start with the cap? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here.
If we even exceed those projections, there's a possibility that the escrow gets paid off and the cap goes up more, but that's a possibility. I think it's more likely than not we will still see an escrow balance. But, I suppose there's always a possibility of discussions once the new executive director of the Players Association, who I believe officially starts today, and we welcome Marty Walsh to the NHL family. But, subject to that, it appears that the cap will go up $1 million. There is the possibility that the cap could go up more and the escrow will be paid off.
It's all on Marty.
To me, that's negotiating is what that is.
100%.
Yeah.
And if there's a feeling that Gary will go back to the players and say, hey, listen, you want to, open this up again, it always comes with,
What do we get?
I need a sweetener.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it's you guys who want the cap up. I'm sure the league wants the cap up too.
There's no sweetener. There's nothing. It's got to be like you're not getting anything. The owners aren't getting anything back. That's the first thing Marty's got to tell them.
Yeah.
That if we talk, you're not getting anything.
Right. And I don't know if future considerations exist in a negotiation of that magnitude, but that would be what Bettman's saying, like, oh, okay, like we'll do this for you, but you guys owe us one here. This is for you. We're doing this for your players type of thing.
He's kind of caught too because
he must want the cap to go up.
No, like, big market teams want the cap to go up. The small market teams don't want it.
Well, for competitive reasons.
Because they don't want the cash. They don't want to deal with the cash.
It's not a Mickey Mouse league.
If
you can't afford to pay for players, then don't own a team.
There's more teams that want to not have the cap go up than there are cap going up. And
I don't believe you for a second.
No way. Kim.
Yes. No. And let me tell you something. What probably isn't getting probably talked about enough is this whole Bally regional bankruptcy guys.
Yeah.
Like that we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars here. We're talking about
of revenue for the HRR that's gone.
50%. You're exactly right. 50% of whatever that number is belongs to player contracts.
Alan Walsh shared it out. It was what, $8 billion or something?
No,
total between the leagues.
$8 billion's what the debt is.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. We don't know exactly what the number is with
league was owed.
And we are talking, I think, 12 or 13 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Some are making like better money than others.
Yeah.
Who knows how it all falls in, but like they're going to walk away from owing that money.
Yeah.
And now the NHL is caught. So the question is, do they completely disappear or do they go back and say, hey, we're going to hang around, but we're going to have to come up with a new number.
Mm-hmm.
So you are as a league, hopefully Gary can go back and recoup some of this money that's lost. How much? Don't know.
That does sound problematic indeed. Well, it just seems so Mickey Mouse to me to be scrapping over $1 million here or there or whatever, talking about franchise worth is $1 billion. They're trying to sell that to us.
Don't say Mickey Mouse. Big City Greens.
Big City Greens. Brought to you by.
There's a team that's in the NHL. Their average attendance is 4,600 people.
That's not good.
I know of a team.
4,600.
So
I know.
So listen,
it's my junior team.
London Knights draw better than the Arizona
double.
Who knows how this thing's going to play out in the next few years? This lost regional money, but that's real cash flow that will affect certain teams. And just talking to somebody with one particular team that says, you know, we're cash poor.
Yeah.
You know, that's real money. That's not going to be there for us.
You know what they need then? More teams in the league. You know, like what is going on?
You know who's not cash poor?
Who's that?
Ryan Reynolds.
No, he is cash opposite of poor.
Did he just sell again? He started a company, this mobile company.
Mint Mobile?
And he just sold it. Him and his, I'm sure he's a minority partner. I don't know what his cut would be out of $1.35 billion.
Is that what they sold it for?
Yeah.
God, everything he touches turns to gold. He's making a mint.
Wow.
Sorry.
Is that good news for Ottawa Senator fans? Everything he touches turns to
says he owns
silver. Did you say silver or gold?
Company.
He owns 25%. That he's liquefying some assets, I would say, is an encouraging sign.
So it's probably around $300 million.
Okay.
Club.
That's still not enough. Still not enough.
Yeah,
small
but he gets
potatoes.
half of it to taxes.
Mm-hmm. Would like to hear about expansion from Gary Bettman?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do it.
There continues to be a number of people, entities, and cities expressing interest in having an NHL franchise where they don't have one. Places like Atlanta, like Houston, like Quebec City, but we're not in an expansion mode right now. And it's not really something, at least right now, that's anywhere close to front burner for us.
Is he pronounce it Houston?
Houston.
Interesting. That's huge.
Can anybody really see expansion with what's going on in Arizona? Like, aren't we talking relocation before we ever utter the words expansion?
Please.
Can a team be temporarily relocated? Can they let them entertain one of these cities that has an arena? Go play in Kansas City or at the Videotron in Quebec City for a couple of years here, so we don't have to look at this debacle.
Yeah, but it'd be like letting a dog go live at somebody else's house for 2 years. They ain't giving it back.
Well, I wonder
when they go to Quebec, it's like that.
But I wonder, then you say, okay, Quebec, you're going to have this franchise for 3 years. They're going to go back once they get a new barn, and then we'll give you your Nordiques part 2.
I just get rid of 10 teams. That's the better idea.
How good would other teams get? And the budgets would be huge. All of a sudden, it's massive payroll for big money teams.
The games would be off the charts good.
Be playoff games.
If they shut down teams.
Yeah.
The product would get better.
Bonnie, was it you that was talking about this with me, or was it JD about there's just not enough goalies for expansion?
Yeah.
Like you can't. All the goalies suck now. there's one really good goalie, and then there's kind of the rest, right? It's like
there's like feels like there's 15, 20 guys, and then about 80 guys in a pool that are all about the same.
You know what's kind of ironic is that, like, in the era where there was no real like goalie coaches or teams of goalie this and goalie that and all these clinics, there were better goalies.
But it made sense that the below average guys couldn't be brought up to looking good or okay. Like they couldn't just be positional and do the right moves and make saves like they can now. Like then it was, he was athletic and guys who read the play really well. And I think it allowed the great guys to stand out. Now, the worst goalie in the NHL is an unbelievable goalie, but there's no separation between them and the best guy. You know, they're all kind of the same guy now, it feels like.
Yeah, with the exception of one space between your ears.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what separates, the top 10 from the bottom
competitor
100.
like Vasilevsky,
who just as soon as the games
dials
get
it
big,
in.
as soon as the games get big, the goals just don't go in the net.
Yeah. It's a little piece of one here and there.
Where did we lose mentally tough goalies?
I don't know. I think it's not that the best guys got worse. I think it's that the worst guys got better. And it all kind of, they all fit in a pile now.
That's well said, buddy.
We got another.
Yeah, we got.
Bettmanism?
It's about the divisions. So if you wanted to piss off everybody listening, we can listen to it. So
yeah, especially you.
Yeah, let's listen to it. Yeah.
If you've been tracking it for the last month, there isn't much difference between either format. We think, and I think it is concurred with the general managers, what we've got works really well. Yeah. I know that some people may have a preference for doing things differently, but this is working well, and we're not looking to make any changes.
Do you guys concur? I concur. You concur?
Gary Bettman.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Although, it doesn't always work in your favor, but it just makes more sense. Even if you don't like the matchup you draw right now, 1-8 just makes more sense. This is another instance of Bettman being like, we've talked to people and everyone actually likes this. You guys are wrong. This is actually super popular and we've done internal polling.
Yeah, it was the same people that like the board ads.
Yeah. Actually, we've done internal testing and people are super into it.
Like, I saw this tweet from Active Stick, who does a great job.
Yeah.
And he did a big thing talking about, regulation wins for teams since 2018, 2019. The top 3 teams in the NHL in regulation wins in the last 4 or 5 seasons: Tampa Bay 218, Boston 217,
Atlantic Division,
Toronto Maple Leafs 206.
Yeah,
it is a gripe that's coming from Leaf fans. I understand that, but they matter the most.
If it were 1-8 right now, let me ask you,
it'd be Tampa probably.
No, it'd be the Rangers.
But at least
who would you pick?
Leafs Rangers.
Leafs Rangers. You want the Rangers or you want the Bolts in round 1?
I would take Rangers all day long.
Would you?
Oh, yeah.
I think I tend to agree with Kyper, but that's not
Tampa.
That's not a great choice either.
No, it's not.
But like, at least there's some intrigue that you could move up or move
I was
down.
going to say, what's interesting is then you're 5 points behind the Devils. You got a game in hand. If you catch them, then it's Pittsburgh. That's a different look. There's more room for late season playoff races, which if you're the NHL might be the most appealing part. There's more room for drama in the standings.
So if we catch New Jersey, we play Tampa.
Good point, Derek. Anyway, there's some compelling format there where you can, it's interesting longer into the season.
Outside of that, everything's great.
Everything's great.
The league's great. The rules are great. $6 billion industry. Great.
I just
great,
hate
great.
Everything's great.
I hate his tone. He's so condescending. Does he have to be like that to be the commissioner? Or is that just years of being in that position?
Just defensive from the get-go, but
condescending is the better word.
Yeah, it is.
You go to any company, CEOs at the top.
I was thinking like Goodell, Silver.
But Silver's
15,
not like that.
20 million a year. Come on.
Roger Goodell makes $44 million a year last I checked.
Wow. And the commissioner of baseball literally just saved the league. So we have to give him credit. Yeah.
Didn't everyone hate that guy 10 minutes ago?
He was the most hated man in the world because they were doing contract negotiations during COVID. They weren't going to play because they couldn't get the owners and the players couldn't get it figured out, and they finally did.
What else? Besides the pitch clock, they went to
bigger bases.
And no shift.
How's that working out?
Great. More stolen bases.
Really?
Which are one of the most exciting plays in baseball. And you can't shift, right? So you can't bring the second baseman on the shortstop side or vice versa.
I hate that so much.
What?
Do not tell the defense how they can choose to defend the offense.
You just love bouncing out to the
just
guy.
hit it on the other side.
Well,
where it's
that's
open.
the idea. The offense should have to adjust. I understand that like basketball, you can't stand in the key. I get that there are sports that limit some defensive movement. I had no time for it.
Yeah, I want to see the big left-handed power hitter try to hit a home run. Instead of him being like, I better bloop this one down the third baseline. It's more exciting. Base hits, baby.
Three true outcomes suck. Get the ball in play.
Yeah, but now there's going to be more balls in play because there's not as many shifts.
Well, guys were only swinging for home runs before. When there's shifts, you're supposed to adjust.
It's a bad take.
All right, whatever.
Okay.
Bring it up with Ben. He'll love that take.
Sammy, you're not going for 2 for 2 this week in predictions, okay? I'm telling you that right now.
Okay, yes, I am. Dennis Malgin goal. At least one. I'm actually going to bet that. I don't usually bet these, but I'm definitely betting a Malgin goal tonight. I like the Leafs to win tonight.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good team. They had a bad performance. I think Leafs win 4-2 tonight.
It is a good spot. Coming off the usual disappointment, get their attention with the Avs. I think it's a close game, but I think the Leafs win tonight too.
I got high scoring game tonight.
Do you?
Yeah, I got a ton of goals tonight. 6-4.
Leafs don't even want that outcome in a win,
7-4.
right? Leafs come in here tomorrow. We're sitting here and they've won 7-5, and Samsonov got no one gets pulled in this team.
I don't know.
So
No, they're not getting pulled.
Has anyone been pulled this season?
Yeah, one time.
One time.
Murray got pulled once.
Cramps? What?
No, that's not very nice.
That's not nice. He says
He was. Wasn't it Shalgren? He got pulled for a bad performance.
that would be nice. Yeah, I think you're right. I think once.
One time.
All right, just like that. 2 hours gone.
Great show.
Great
boys.
show.
Yeah, good job.
Good
Eddie
guess.
Olczyk, Ray Ferraro, Arif Dean. Great insight on the Avalanche. Should be fun tonight. Like I said, hopefully we see some goals and maybe some big saves as well.
That would be nice.
Good mix tonight. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Give us a rating and review if you get a chance. We'd love to hear from you. Thumbs up on our YouTube channel. Have a safe night. Enjoy the games. And we're back to wrap it all up again tomorrow on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show.
Kudos Pick Your Perk plans let you choose the free perk that makes you happy. But with options like rollover data, speed boost, and more, I had to be sure I was picking the perfect perk for me. Naturally, I consulted my wise